You ever have a moment where your whole life unravels in under 5 minutes? I have. It happened on a Tuesday. 2:43 p.m. to be exact. I was sitting in my 2006 Dodge Dakota AC wheezing like a dying man, eating a gas station chicken sandwich that had the structural integrity of a wet napkin. I had drywall dust on my pants, my kid's crayon drawing of Dad the Dragon Slayer taped to my dash, and no clue that my world was about to explode. My phone dinged. County Court. New case update. I opened it and saw the words Order for Supervised Visitation, Troy Mathers, in bold. I blinked. Thought maybe it was a mistake. It wasn't. Beneath it, a flood of legalese. At the bottom, allegations of escalating verbal abuse, emotional instability, and my personal favorite, coercive control. That one felt like it came out of a self-help podcast she'd half-listened to while scrolling Zillow for apartments in Austin. I drove straight to my lawyer's office. Pete's a good guy. Real estate law by trade, but in a small Nebraska town, you're either versatile or broke. He squinted at the papers, muttered Jesus H. Roosevelt Christ, and started flipping through a folder that was suddenly outdated. I thought we were in mediation, I said, jaw tight. We were, he said. This changes things. What this was Carla, my ex-wife of 2 years, deciding she wanted full custody of Ellie, our 6-year-old daughter. And rather than let the system run its glacial course, she went nuclear. And here's where it gets interesting. The court clerk who filed the emergency order? Her sister, Denise. I'm not even kidding. I didn't notice it at first. I was too busy trying not to pass out from rage and confusion. But a week later, after I'd calmed down enough to stop pacing at night like a pissed-off zoo animal, I saw the name. Denise Kramer. Now, Nebraska's got laws, same as anywhere else. Nepotism? Frowned upon. Using a family connection to push through custody orders? Highly illegal. But proving that a clerk nudged paperwork through the cracks quietly, carefully, isn't easy. Especially when the whole thing's wrapped in emotional landmines like child safety and parental rights. I asked Pete, can we challenge it? He sighed. We can try. But it'll take months. And you'll be under supervised visitation the whole time. Let me tell you what that feels like. It's not just someone saying they don't trust you. It's the state saying you're dangerous. A threat. Like I was one argument away from making the evening news. It means seeing your kid for 4 hours on Sundays while a woman named Karen with a clipboard watches you like you're juggling knives. And the kicker? Ellie didn't understand any of it. She just kept asking why I wasn't picking her up from school anymore. I didn't have an answer. Not yet. Carla, meanwhile, had the smirk. That smug, I just outmaneuvered you smirk. She was wearing new clothes, had new nails, and a new apartment she miraculously afforded right after filing the order. And Denise? She wouldn't look me in the eye at the courthouse. Just stamped papers like it was another day at the DMV. But here's the thing about construction, guys. We build from the ground up. And if someone rips it down, well, we know how to rebuild stronger. Even if it means going to war with a clipboard-wielding Karen and 2 women who thought they'd already won. Supervised visitation, in case you've never had the pleasure, is a special kind of humiliation. Picture a sterile room at a third-party facility, metal chairs, toys that smell faintly of bleach and disappointment, and some laminated posters about positive communication taped to the walls. They call it a neutral setting, but it feels more like being in detention with your own child. My monitor's name was Karen. No, really. Karen. Blonde bob, wire-rim glasses, clipboard practically fused to her arm. She was civil enough, but she had the kind of smile you'd expect from someone who enjoys writing passive-aggressive notes to the HOA. Everything was logged. Every word, every glance, every juice box offered. Ellie didn't get it. Not really. She thought maybe I was in trouble like when she got sent home for biting another kid in pre-K. She asked if I said a bad word at work. I told her no. She asked if I stole something. I said, just your heart. She giggled and Karen actually wrote that down. It was like living in a funhouse mirror version of my own fatherhood. I could be there, but not really there. I could hold her hand, but not talk about court. I could draw pictures with her, but not ask what her mom was saying about me. The one time I slipped and asked if she was okay living in the new apartment, Karen cleared her throat like a church bell and wrote a whole paragraph. Meanwhile, Carla was thriving. She'd gotten a promotion at work, admin job at a local dentist's office, answering phones and filing forms. Nothing fancy, but enough to fuel her glow-up. She started posting pictures on Facebook of new beginnings, filtered shots of wine glasses, and captions about choosing peace. Always with that same fake deep tone you hear from people who just finished their third therapy session and think they've unlocked the secrets of the universe. And yeah, I checked her Facebook. Don't judge me. You lose your kid and tell me you wouldn't stalk every damn profile photo. I started noticing things. Like how she suddenly had money for a weekend trip to Kansas City. Or the new iPad Ellie had bought for school even though the kid could barely spell her own name. And Denise? She got promoted. Deputy court clerk. More access, more influence. It all felt too smooth, too rehearsed, like a script they'd been running through in the mirror for weeks. Pete told me to stay calm. Play it straight. The system always corrects itself, he said. Yeah, and drywall always holds until someone hits it with a crowbar. I started working nights. A buddy of mine got me a warehouse gig stacking pallets. Paid garbage, but it kept the lights on. During lunch breaks, I'd watch old videos of Ellie on my phone. Her laughing. Her singing off-key in the back seat. I'd turn the volume way up just so I could hear her voice over the forklifts. I kept all the receipts. Every check I wrote for child support. Every court fee. Every appointment I had to cancel because the system said I couldn't be trusted to watch my own daughter without a hall monitor. Carla thought she'd won. Denise thought she'd covered her tracks. Karen thought I was another angry dad who couldn't keep it together. They were all half right. But the part they didn't see, the part one kept buried behind every tired smile and polite nod, was the part that had already started planning. See, you don't spend your life building things without learning how to undo them, too. The thing about hitting rock bottom is, eventually, you stop hearing the thud. After a while, it's just the sound of your own breathing in a space no one visits, not your friends, not your family, and definitely not your daughter. By the end of that year, I was on autopilot. I worked nights at the warehouse, crashed on a futon in a 2-room basement apartment that smelled like mildew and memories. I kept Ellie's drawings in a shoebox under my bed. Every time I opened it, I told myself it was motivation. Truth was, I just missed the sound of her calling me daddy without a stranger in the room writing it down. I stopped trying to fix it through the system. I'd gone to every required therapy session. Passed every drug test. Showed up to every supervised visit in clean clothes with a big fake grin. Nothing changed. Carla and Denise had the game rigged from the start and I was playing with broken dice. Then, by some cosmic twist, I got a lifeline. There's a bar on the edge of town called Marty's Tap. Locals, cheap beer, the kind of place where everybody knows your nickname and no one asks why you're drinking on a Tuesday. I was halfway through a course when I struck up a conversation with a guy named Bill Harper. Vietnam vet, sharp eyes, voice like gravel. Turned out he ran a PI firm, a Harper Investigations. Mostly did divorce stuff, missing persons, skip tracing. I must have looked pathetic enough to be interesting because he bought me a drink and asked what I did. Used to hang drywall. Now I stack boxes. And piss off clipboard ladies. He laughed. Ever done surveillance? I shook my head. Just on my ex's Instagram. Close enough, he said. Long story short, he needed someone to watch a guy suspected of workers' comp fraud. Said I could ride along. $50 a day and a burger if we got anything on tape. That one ride-along turned into 3 months of shadowing. Bill taught me how to shoot video through a cracked van window, how to pull public records without leaving a footprint, how to read the little things, habits, timing, routines. The more I learned, the more I felt something shift. Not rage. Not bitterness. Just clarity. One night, I was organizing case files in his office and came across a folder labeled McKinley Custody Dispute. It was 5 years old. The father lost custody after a sudden emergency order was filed citing emotional instability. Sound familiar? I read the file top to bottom and found something that made my stomach turn. The emergency order had been processed by Denise Kramer. Same language. Same timeline. Same quiet pull of backroom strings. I asked Bill if he remembered the case. He nodded, said it was always weird how fast that one got processed. His client moved out of state after that. Gave up trying. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and realized something for the first time in 2 years. Maybe it wasn't just me. Maybe Denise had done this before. And if she had, she probably wasn't planning to stop. There's a thing you learn in construction: every house has a weak spot. Could be the foundation, could be the joists, could be some cheap-ass contractor who used staples instead of nails. Point is, no matter how polished it looks, everything built wrong will eventually crack. That's what Denise was. A polished courthouse fixture built wrong from the start. After finding her name in that McKinley file, I started combing through every custody case I could find from the last 7 years. Nebraska's got a halfway decent court records system if you know where to look and what back doors to pry open. I didn't even use Bill's firm, too risky to tie this back to me just yet. Instead, I spent my nights in the library's public records terminal, fueled by gas station coffee and quiet fury. At first, it was just a hunch. But then I noticed something. Cases with one parent filing emergency orders through Denise's desk always seemed to follow a pattern. Same words: emotional coercion, unfit environment, threatening behavior. Same outcome: temporary custody handed to the petitioner within 48 hours. And here's the kicker: in over half of those cases, the respondent, the one losing custody, was male. Fathers. Most with no prior criminal record, no CPS involvement, no previous court issues. I cross-referenced names, then started checking social media. You'd be amazed what people leave open. I wasn't looking for scandal, I was looking for connection. And I found it. One woman? Denise's gym buddy. Another? Went to high school with Carla. A third? Shared a Galentine's Day photo with both Denise and Carla just 2 years ago. It wasn't coincidence. It was a cottage industry. Denise wasn't just cutting corners for her sister, she was running a quiet, under-the-table service for women looking to skip the slow, ugly grind of family court and fast-track their ex into parental purgatory. You ever get that sensation where your scalp prickles, like your brain knows something your heart hasn't caught up with yet? That's what it felt like. Not just betrayal anymore. This was a business. And if it was a business, there had to be payment. I pulled Carla's bank statements from our divorce files. Nothing stood out at first, just the usual withdrawals, rent, groceries. But then I saw it, 2 separate ATM withdrawals of $500, both on the same day she filed her emergency custody motion. 2 more, 1 week apart. Then they stopped. Now, I couldn't prove where that cash went. Not yet. But Carla wasn't exactly rolling in disposable income back then. We'd both been eating off the dollar menu. I needed more. Something live. Something undeniable. So I told Bill. I laid it all out: Denise, Carla, the patterns, the cash. He didn't say much. Just stared for a long minute, then finally muttered, "Jesus, son, you've been busy." He asked what I wanted. I said, I want them to choke on their own script. I want them to hear the words they fed to that judge played back on a wire. I want Denise to see a badge at her door. I want Carla to sit across from Ellie one day and know she lost everything because she got greedy. Bill leaned back, tapped his desk, and said 6 words I'll never forget. Then let's build the perfect trap. Bill didn't hesitate. He just cracked his knuckles, flipped his old flip phone shut, and pulled out a yellow legal pad like we were planning a heist. Except we weren't stealing anything, we were setting bait. And the mark? Denise Kramer, civil servant by day, backdoor hustler by night. Here's the play we built. Step 1, we needed a decoy. A woman. Preferably young, local, believable. Someone who looked like she could be in the middle of a nasty breakup and desperate enough to believe a court clerk could help make things go smoother for a price. Enter Monica Hayes. 29, former client of Bill's, now working in insurance claims. Smart, composed, and more than a little pissed off about how her cousin got railroaded in a custody case a few years back. When Bill asked if she wanted in, she didn't blink. Just said, "Tell me what to wear." We created a full backstory. Monica had been living with the guy for 4 years, they had a kid together, no formal custody agreement, and now she wanted to get sole custody before he could lawyer up. She needed it done fast and quietly. No CPS, no drawn-out hearings. Just results. She went to the courthouse one Friday morning, fake documents in a manila envelope and a cheap engagement ring on her finger for effect. Waited until Denise was alone at the desk, then leaned in like she was sharing state secrets. Bill and I were in a rented car across the street, watching the whole thing on a hidden camera clipped to Monica's jacket. The audio feed ran through Bill's laptop, scratchy but clear enough. I could hear my pulse in my ears the moment Denise started talking. Monica said, "I heard you might know a way to make things move quicker, you know, off the record." There was a pause. A long one. I thought we blew it. Then Denise said, "Who told you that?" Monica played it cool. "A friend who said you helped her with her ex." "I can't say who. She said you'd understand." Another pause. Then the magic words. Depends what you're trying to do. It was like watching a magician accidentally reveal the wires. Denise told her she'd need a notarized statement, a fake medical note if she could get one, and a cash filing fee, not the real court filing, mind you, but her own cut. She even gave Monica a list of phrases to include: concern for child's safety, mental instability, coercive behavior. Same script. Word for word. The one she used on me. When Monica asked how long it would take, Denise leaned in and said, if I move it through the right judge, you'll have a hearing inside a week. He won't even look at it twice if the wording's right. I wanted to throw up. Not from nerves, just rage. Pure, white-hot, throat-drying rage. She was so casual about it. Like recommending a dry cleaner. Bill pressed stop on the recording and said, that's one. But we needed more. A full paper trail. So we let it play out. Monica met with Denise again 2 days later, this time with a hidden recorder in her purse and $300 in 20s. We got her on tape accepting the cash. Not even subtle. She tucked it into her desk drawer like it was a birthday card from her aunt. We had enough to bury her. But we weren't done yet. Bill looked at me after the second meeting and said, she's been doing this for years. You ready to make it public? I nodded. I want the cuffs. I want the mugshot. I want her explaining to a judge how her side hustle just burned down her career. We handed everything off to Bill's contact at the state attorney general's office. And then, for the first time in a long time, I waited with something close to hope in my chest. Not because I was done. Because I'd just gotten started. There's a special kind of silence that comes after you hand everything over to the authorities. It's not peace. Not yet. It's more like the eye of the storm. You don't know if it's finally over or if the real damage is just about to start. We'd given the Attorney General's office 3 separate audio recordings, cash handoff footage, and a transcript so detailed it read like a damn movie script. Our contact, Agent Sam Weller, a sharp-suited guy with a flat Iowa accent and eyes that never blinked, listened to the files with headphones and a legal pad, nodding like he already knew where this was going. She's done this before, I told him. He didn't look up. That's what we're about to find out. The thing about small-town corruption is it's not flashy. It's not briefcases or burner phones. It's sloppy favors, whispered names, and half-baked schemes carried out by people who think no one's watching because no one ever has been. Until now. The AG's office ran it clean. Quiet. Surgical. They didn't arrest Denise right away. Instead, they opened an internal audit of court documents, back-channel stuff. Pulled 5 years' worth of custody orders filed through Denise. Looked for patterns. And buddy, they found them. Turns out she had a template, an actual Microsoft Word file she reused with minor edits. Same language every time. The petitioner expresses grave concern. The minor child displays signs of emotional distress. Urgent relief is requested to ensure the safety and well-being of the child. Over 40 emergency orders tied to her desk. 34 of them led to full custody for the mother without a full hearing. And 7 of those? Paid off in cash through a second-hand paper trail they traced right to her personal checking account. She didn't even try to hide it. Deposited $100 bills the day after filing assistance. One of the AG's interns, fresh out of Creighton Law, even found a direct message from Denise to a woman on Facebook: if you really want him out of the picture, I can help. It's all about how you frame it. That one made Weller's nostrils flare. But here's the part that made it personal again. They pulled Carla's case. My case. Found everything I'd suspected. Denise had altered the timeline of our custody dispute, marked my filing for joint custody as incomplete even though Pete had the timestamped copy. Filed Carla's emergency order before mine. Marked it urgent due to imminent threat. And she was the one who personally assigned it to a judge with a backlog so thick he rubber-stamped half his docket. It was a setup from the jump. Agent Weller called me in for a follow-up 2 weeks later. He slid the paperwork across the table and said, "You've got grounds to reopen custody." I stared at the form. I dreamed about this moment. In the shower. Driving to work. Staring at my phone during supervised visits. But I didn't smile. I don't just want custody, I said. I want them both on record. Her and Carla. He nodded. We're moving on, Denise. Carla's next if the paper trail holds. You ready for the fallout? I've been living in the fallout for 2 years, I told him. I'm ready for the rebuild. 2 days later, a plainclothes team walked into the Lancaster County Courthouse and escorted Denise Kramer out in handcuffs. Fraud. Tampering with legal records. conspiracy to deprive civil rights, bribery. I watched it unfold online, sitting in my truck outside the visitation center, Ellie's backpack in the passenger seat. A live stream from a local news station showed Denise being walked out the front steps, eyes wide, mouth tight, escorted by 2 agents like a petty crook on laundry day. Karen, my visitation monitor, knocked on my window. "You ready for your appointment?" I looked at the video one last time, then turned off the screen. "Not today," I said. "This appointment just got canceled." Denise's arrest sent a ripple through the whole damn county. You'd think someone had burned down the courthouse. Local gossip lit up like Christmas, Facebook moms, old church ladies, even the gas station cashier who used to pretend not to notice I was buying ramen and black coffee for dinner 5 nights a week. Everybody had heard something. Now they were finally saying it out loud. Bill and I watched the morning news together at his office the day after it hit. He brought donuts. I brought nothing but adrenaline. There she was. Denise Kramer, hair tied back, blazer rumpled, looking like someone who finally realized her side hustle came with a prison sentence. They used her full title too, Deputy Clerk of Lancaster Family Court, like it added weight to the fall. And it did. The news anchor even said, ongoing investigation into allegations of long-term manipulation of custody proceedings. I remember blinking at the screen and thinking, this is real. I'm not crazy. The anchor went on. Anonymous sources indicate that at least one case, filed in 2021, has been reopened as a result of these charges. That case was mine. Later that afternoon, I got the call from Agent Weller. "Wanted you to hear from me. Your case is officially back on the docket. Emergency orders voided. The original custody agreement is being reviewed in full." I leaned back in my kitchen chair, the cheap kind with the wobble in one leg, and let the weight of that sentence settle into my chest. It didn't feel like a win yet. Just a breath. A gulp of air after 2 years underwater. But then he said the part I'd been waiting for, "We're looking into Carla now." See, Carla was smart in the petty ways, how to twist a story, how to weaponize sympathy, but she was sloppy with paperwork. And once Denise's accounts were subpoenaed, things got interesting fast. Turns out Carla had been sending small payments to Denise's personal Venmo account, labeled stupid things like childcare help and coffee, for payments in total each within 48 hours of every major legal move in our case. I asked Pete, my lawyer, who I hadn't talked to in over a year, what that meant. "It means if the AG can link those payments to a quid pro quo, she's facing conspiracy and possibly obstruction. It won't be Denise alone on the docket." I didn't cheer, didn't scream or dance or call anybody. I just sat there in my beat-up kitchen, cracked linoleum under my boots, and felt still. Like a man who'd been dragging a boulder uphill and just realized the slope was finally turning. 2 days after that, I saw Carla for the first time in nearly 8 months. It was at the courthouse. She wasn't smiling anymore. Her makeup was thinner, her heels shorter, and her eyes darted around the lobby like she didn't know which way the ground would give. When she spotted me, her face did something strange, like she wanted to sneer but couldn't find the strength. Her sister's name was all over the papers. And now her name was showing up in the AG's case briefings. We didn't speak. I didn't even nod. Let her sit in it. Later that day, I got a call from CPS. They've been instructed to reevaluate our home environments. Standard procedure for reopened custody disputes. The rep was polite. Asked if I still lived at the same address. I said yes, but told her she should expect changes soon. Because I was already packing up. I was going to need a real bedroom for Ellie. If you've never been inside a custody hearing, let me paint the picture for you. Stale air, peeling laminate tables, and chairs designed by people who apparently hate backs. It's the kind of room that turns every breath into a statement and every silence into strategy. Mine was held in a 4th-floor courtroom that overlooked the DMV parking lot, an appropriately soul-sucking view. The same judge from my original case presided. He looked older, tired. I wondered if he remembered rubber stamping away 2 years of my life. To his credit, he didn't hide his discomfort. "Not this time. We are here," he said, glasses low on his nose. "Due to serious questions regarding the integrity of prior filings and the potential misconduct of court personnel. Translation: we might have screwed the pooch, and now the dog's got a lawyer." Carla sat 2 rows ahead, flanked by her attorney. A sharp-chinned woman who kept her face perfectly neutral. Carla, though, looked like a cracked porcelain doll. Fragile. defensive. She wore a gray pantsuit and that same stiff, performative grief I'd seen at her aunt's funeral when she kept checking her lipstick in the mirror between sobs. The judge opened the floor. My lawyer, Pete, the real estate guy turned justice warrior, stood and laid it out in simple terms. Denise's charges, the reopened cases, the documented manipulation, the financial trail, the identical language across filings, and how Carla's emergency order followed the same exact path. Same wording, same process, same results. Then he handed the judge the printouts, bank statements, filing timestamps, the Venmo notes that now looked like smoking guns. One of them literally said, "Thanks again," smiling face with hearts. No emoji in the courtroom, but that one hung there like a stink. Carla's lawyer stood and started spinning. Claimed Carla had no knowledge of Denise's backdoor schemes. Said the money was casual reimbursements, that she trusted the legal process in good faith, and had simply relied on her sister's experience. The judge nodded, listening. Then he did something I didn't expect. He turned to Carla. "Do you believe the order that gave you full custody was justified?" Carla froze, blinked once, twice. "I believed I was acting in my daughter's best interest." He pressed, voice quieter now. "Do you believe the process was fair?" She looked down. "I don't know anymore." There it was. The crack. I didn't need a confession. I didn't want drama. I just wanted the truth to finally matter. An hour later, the judge called a recess. When he returned, he ruled that the prior custody order was voided due to compromised proceedings. He reinstated the original joint custody agreement, effective immediately. Further evaluations were to be made by an independent family counselor. In short, back to square one, except this time the board wasn't tilted. Ellie's life wasn't a chess match anymore. As we exited the courtroom, Carla turned to me. Her face looked like it had aged 10 years since breakfast. She opened her mouth, maybe to apologize, maybe to lie. I don't know. I didn't wait to find out. I just walked past her and headed toward the elevators. I had a meeting scheduled with Ellie's new school counselor that afternoon. This time, I wasn't going to be late. There are moments as a father you think about before they happen. First steps. First words. First time she calls you Dad instead of Daddy. But nothing prepares you for the moment your kid looks you in the eye and says, "I didn't know if you loved me anymore." Ellie said that 2 weeks after the hearing, sitting across from me at a diner with a plate of untouched waffles between us. She was wearing a hoodie 2 sizes too big and fidgeting with the straw wrapper like it was a puzzle she couldn't solve. I didn't say anything right away. Couldn't. I felt the kind of guilt that makes your bones hum. The kind that sinks into you, heavy and slow, like winter frost in old soil. I never stopped. I finally told her. Not for a second. Not even when I couldn't see you. She nodded, not looking up. Mom said you were sick, that you needed help, that it wasn't safe. I swallowed hard. That was the knife I'd been waiting to find. The poison seed Carla had planted, watered, and walked away from like it was just part of parenting. But I didn't lash out. I didn't trash talk Carla or try to rewrite Ellie's memories. I just said, "I'm okay now. You're safe with me. You always were." Ellie looked at me, eyes glassy but steady, and asked the question I never expected. "Can I live with you during school this year?" I blinked. "You sure?" She nodded fast. "I like it better. It's quiet. And you don't cry when you think I'm asleep." That broke me. Right there in the middle of Mel's diner on a Thursday morning, with some poor waitress pretending not to hear. I got full physical custody 3 weeks later. Carla didn't fight it. Didn't even show up to the hearing. By then, her name had started circling the press coverage around Denise's case. Local outlets were sniffing around. The AG's office hadn't charged her yet, but the public mention of potential co-conspirators had painted a very clear silhouette. She tried to text me once. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. Ellie and I moved into a small ranch house on the edge of town. 2 bedrooms, new paint, a big oak in the front yard that Ellie named Grandpa Tree, for no clear reason. She helped me build bookshelves from scratch. Crooked, wobbly things that leaned like they were drunk, but she loved them. We started fresh. I put her drawings on the fridge again. Cooked her eggs that were always too runny but just how she liked them. Took her to school every morning in my rusted Dakota, windows down even in October because she liked the wind. She told me she wanted to join the science fair. Said she wanted to build a solar-powered car because it's better for the earth and also it's fast. I asked if she wanted help. She grinned. Only if you promise not to overthink it like the treehouse. Fair enough. That night, I opened the shoebox I used to keep her crayon drawings in, the same one I used to hide under my bed when she was taken from me. I emptied it out and tossed it in the trash. I didn't need to keep the past in a box anymore. It was standing in the kitchen, pouring orange juice, asking if we had batteries for her science project. And it was home. The day Carla's mugshot showed up on the 6 o'clock news, I was at Ellie's school. She'd built a solar-powered derby car out of balsa wood, aluminum foil, and 2 old toothbrush motors. It barely turned, wobbled like it had vertigo, and couldn't drive straight if its life depended on it. But when the sun hit that little solar panel just right, it moved. And damn it, that was enough. She didn't win. Some kid named Braden built a carbon fiber rocket that could have doubled as a CIA drone. But Ellie got a certificate for Most Creative Design, and she waved it around like it was a Nobel Prize. While she was collecting hugs and juice boxes, my phone buzzed. A message from Bill. Just one line. Channel 4. Now. I stepped outside the gym, leaned against the flagpole, and watched the segment. There it was, sandwiched between a local weather alert and a story about a pothole fund. Former clerk's sister faces charges in custody fraud case. They didn't even use her full name at first. Just Carla M. But the photo left no doubt. Hair up. No makeup. Eyes like a rabbit in headlights. Not rage, not defiance, just that cold realization when the walls finally close in. The reporter spoke in that fake sympathy tone they use when the villain is a woman who once volunteered at a bake sale. Prosecutors allege that Carla M. knowingly provided false testimony in a 2021 custody case in cooperation with her sister, Denise Kramer, currently awaiting trial for judicial misconduct and fraud. Carla M. has been charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy to interfere with parental rights. It hit like a delayed echo. Obstruction. Conspiracy. Those words used to follow me. Now they belong to her. I didn't feel joy. No satisfaction or smugness. Just completion. Like I could finally exhale after holding my breath for years. I'd pictured revenge 1,000 ways, but I never imagined it would feel this quiet. A soft victory, not a loud one. Carla never called. Never wrote. Maybe she thought I'd rub it in. Maybe she realized there was nothing left to say. Denise, meanwhile, pled out. 5 years in minimum security. No pension. No job waiting when she gets out. No quiet deal or relocation package. Just a woman with a resume no one would ever trust again. Carla's sentence came later, 6 months probation, mandatory counseling, and a record that would haunt her every time she applied for anything involving trust. No jail time. I didn't argue. I'd already won the only thing that mattered. Ellie. One night, a few months later, she asked if we could send a thank you letter to Mr. Bill. I asked why. Because he helped you bring me home. I smiled and nodded. Yeah, baby. He really did. She looked up from her sketch pad. Are you ever going to tell me the whole story someday? I paused. When you're older. How old? I thought for a second. Old enough to know that even grown-ups lie and that the truth always comes back louder. She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her drawing, a picture of our little house with a crooked treehouse and a girl on the roof waving at the sun. That night, I pulled the front door closed, checked the locks, and stepped onto the porch. The air was still. Clean. No noise in my chest. No shadow overhead. I'd spent years fighting a storm I couldn't name. Yeah? I was finally home.